at UNM Valencia Campus Workforce Training Center. And that's in Los Lunas, New Mexico, right off the freeway. We created this webinar off of a great document on our website called, what else would it be called but the basic steps to starting a business. My contact information is on the slide, and a PDF of the slides will be emailed to you following this presentation. In fact, I will give you a sneak preview of what I'm going to email to everybody right now. And this is my follow-up email, and it goes over, it has a PDF of the slides, and it has almost all the links that we'll go over today, and a business plan template. So don't worry about having to write down all those links, because they will be emailed to you. In fact, just for those of you who joined early or right on time, I'm going to chat the link to you so you have all the follow-up material right at your fingertips. Let me open my slideshow up again. So before we begin, let's go over some webinar ground rules. Everybody on the call right now is muted, so don't worry about the dog in the background, the cat stepping on the keyboard. You're not going to be unmuted unless I physically unmute you. Your videos aren't showing, so don't worry if you haven't gotten ready yet. Doesn't matter. I'm the only one who has, me and Anwar are the only ones who have to be ready this morning. And there's a feature to raise your hand. And if something's going terribly wrong during the webinar you can't see or hear, I always ask people to raise their hand, and I'll have them raise their hand throughout the webinar just to ask questions. So can everybody on the call for me right now raise their hand? Wow, I have a lot of hands raised. Perfect. We know that's working. So we know that that's the indicator of something's going wrong or me asking a question. I'm going to lower everybody's hands. I saw that the chat and the Q&A are working. If you want to chat with me, if you have a question that you don't want everybody to see, you could put it in the chat, but I'd appreciate if you put all questions in the Q&A, because those are answered on the video recording. And I will post this video to YouTube and send out the recording to everybody who attended or registered. So if you do me that favor of putting all questions into the question and answer portion. And right on time, the phone started to ring. We're going to put it on low. And each slide has a number on it. So if you want to reference the slide number, we could always revisit the slide in your questions. Here's a graphic of our center locations throughout New Mexico. The mission of the SBDC is to build skilled entrepreneurs and strong businesses by offering no-cost confidential business consulting and lower no-cost training events like this one. And I'm going to tell you more about the SBDC in the next few slides. If you look at this slide and you notice at the bottom, we're powered by the SBA, that's the Small Business Administration. We are federally and state funded. So remember, this is your tax dollars at work. And I prepared a great overview of the SBDC for you now. In the dynamic landscape of entrepreneurship, guidance and expertise can make all the difference. At the New Mexico Small Business Development Centers, we understand the value of having seasoned professionals by your side as you navigate the complexities of building and growing a business. Our network comprises over 40 seasoned business advisors and directors strategically stationed at SBDC centers throughout New Mexico. These advisors bring a rich tapestry of experience from various industries honed through years of real-world challenges and triumphs. Aligned with our mission to develop skilled entrepreneurs and strong businesses, our advisors are committed to empowering you with the knowledge and insights needed to thrive in today's competitive marketplace. In addition to our mission-driven approach, we offer two main services: no-cost confidential business consulting. Whether you're brainstorming a business idea or facing a specific challenge, our confidential consulting services provide personalized guidance to tailor your needs. benefit from one-on-one sessions with our experienced advisors who are dedicated to helping you overcome obstacles and achieve your business goals. Then we have lower no-cost business trainings and workshops. Stay ahead of the curve with our affordable training workshops designed to equip you with essential skills and knowledge from financial management to digital marketing. Our workshops cover a wide range of topics relevant to entrepreneurs at every stage of their journey. Imagine you're a budding entrepreneur with a groundbreaking idea but unsure of where to start. Our advisors are here to listen, offering tailored guidance to craft a solid business plan and navigate the intricacies of securing funding. Or perhaps you're an established business seeking to innovate and expand your market reach. Our team stands ready to provide insights on market trends, assess financial strategies, and fine-tune your marketing approach to drive sustainable growth. With the New Mexico Small Business Development Centers, you're not just gaining access to your advisors, you're tapping into a wealth of knowledge and resources dedicated to your success. Together, we'll chart a course for your business that's grounded in expertise, fueled by innovation, and primed for success. So that's a bit about the SBDC, and I'll talk about our partners because remember I told you we're funded in part by the Small Business Administration, and they fund other entrepreneurial resources that we'll talk about a little later. This slide includes 3 topics for upcoming trainings. These are old trainings. I didn't get a chance to update the slide, but if you visit our website at nmsbdc.org and go to the right-hand corner, you could view the most up-to-date listing of webinars and workshops. Tomorrow, Alethea McInerney with the Apex Accelerator, one of our partner programs, is going to do a cybersecurity training. So if you want to attend that one, sign up today. I think I gave you a deadline of 2 o'clock. Here's the agenda for today's training. I'm going to tell you more about the SBDC, talk to you about our we don't do pre anymore, but our post survey. It's very important that you do our post survey, and we'll do that via Zoom through a poll, and then Anwar at the Questa Public Library will do them on physical pieces of paper. Imagine that. We'll get into the basic steps. We'll review and demonstrate our excellent research tools, and then I'll take questions. And I'll ask you to raise your hand throughout today's presentation, so please participate. And I'd like to just know what part of New Mexico everybody's from when I'm in this webinar. I don't have a lot of personal interaction with you guys. So if you're from the Albuquerque metro area, will you raise your hand for me? I'm in the Albuquerque metro area. I'm in Los Lunas, New Mexico. And I should see most of our attendees are probably from that area, I would imagine. Thank you. I see about 8 online attendees from the Albuquerque metro. How about northwest, Farmington area? What else is up there? Cortez, Colorado. Wow, I see about 4 of our online attendees from that area. 5. Thank you for joining us. How about northeast? Do we have anybody from Tucumcari or Clayton? Eagle's Nest? Taos, Questa. Good, I see some hands up for that. Thank you. How about southwest, Silver City area? Wow, I see some Southwesterners. About 2 of people for online have raised their hand. How about 3? Perfect. How about where am I now? Southeast. Do I have anybody from the Hobbs area? Wow, a lot of Southeasterners. I'm sorry to hear about the flooding over there in Roswell. I hope not everybody was badly affected by that. I really do. Hopefully the local politicians declare that a disaster area and everybody who was affected qualifies for SBA disaster loans. So perfect. I see somebody's from Long Beach, California, but they live in the Albuquerque metro area. Long Beach, we had a conference there. Great seafood and low prices on produce for sure. Hobbs. I know they have a really good, maybe it's in Loving, but they have a really good hamburger place over there near Hobbs. I stopped at one time. San Miguel, Torrance County. I love Torrance County, the mountains. Okay. Thank you all. Let's move on. I want to leave time for questions, so I'll try to get through this presentation as quick as I can without skimping on the information, of course. So now let's talk about the services of the SBDC a little bit more. Again, we offer two major services: confidential business consulting and low and no cost trainings. There are no limits to how much counseling you can receive. And we have centers throughout New Mexico, so there'll be one close to you. And if you look at the graphic in the upper right-hand corner, it shows what we strive to do: renew, grow, launch, and start up small businesses. That graphic was created by our center director at Luna Community College, Brianna, who has a great conference she offers once a year. This slide shows what we expect from our clients. My fellow business advisors and center directors want you to succeed, so you'll be assigned homework or further research, so please do the work necessary to succeed. We can't make decisions for you or offer tax or legal advice. We could only connect you to the information you need to make an educated decision. And part of making an educated decision involves working with licensed professionals like attorneys and accountants to obtain the best and most accurate advice possible. Very good. Now let's talk about starting a business in New Mexico. Before going into business, there are some important things you must consider. Will I make enough money to live? Will this replace my current income? Do I need the benefits offered by my current employer, like retirement plans, medical insurance, dental insurance, vision insurance, and disability insurance, to name a few, or other important benefits? Can you replace those benefits by starting your business? You must also think about your educational background and skills. Do you have the correct educational background and skills to understand and operate the many facets of a business? This includes bookkeeping, accounting, human resources, supply chain management, which has become a nightmare since COVID, sales, and that's just to name a few. If not, you might need to hire somebody to perform those tasks or obtain further knowledge and training. And if you want to test your potential as an entrepreneur, we have a great document on our website. I'm opening it up in my other window, and it's called Test Your Potential as an Entrepreneur. It's a nice questionnaire, and it's a great first step to getting to know yourself a little bit better. We tend to know other people better than we know ourselves. Gives you some myths and misconceptions. Talks about identifying startup ideas. Talks about a feasibility analysis. Talks about estimating startup costs. It's like it's a business plan in a second. And of course, it contains the basic steps to starting a business on which this webinar is based. Gives you some great contact information for government entities you'll need to deal with when starting a business. Has a business plan outline. Gives you a lot of great questions to answer in the business plan. But I have that link available to you on that startup webpage/email, and I'll let you look at that at your leisure. Now let's go through the steps one by one. These slides will be emailed to you, remember. And in fact, now that everybody should be on the webinar, let me chat over the link to the follow-up email that I will send out, I promise you. But if you want the link to the web version of this email, I'm going to chat it to everyone. And then now that I'm looking at the chat, yeah, Ember says from Socorro. Yeah, Ember, I saw your business when you registered. It's very interesting. I'd be happy to work with you. Love those type of businesses. Let me get back to our presentation. Make sure I have the Q&A, everything open here. And let me open my presentation on my end. And we'll get, so now let's go through the steps. These slides, okay, they'll be emailed to. This is the, step one is defining the business. This is the who, what, when, where, why, and how. And these questions are answered in a business plan. And if you need a business loan, you need to prepare a business plan. There's just no way around it. All lenders will require one. Many centers use a fill-in-the-blank business plan template that's included in those resources and that link I just sent out. But there are many options for grading a business plan. There's online software like LivePlan. The SBA, Small Business Administration.gov, has a great training with worksheets. And we have more tools available at nmsbdc.org. I also want to point you to the New Mexico Economic Development Department's one-stop website for starting a business. It used to be gonm.biz. And I think it still works if you type in that address. It does. And I'm going to open it up now. So this is a partnership between New Mexico agencies that you must contact when starting a business. And let me move my little chat boxes over. And since everybody asks, this is the question I get most, and I'm sure center directors get this question the most too. So we're going to go over what the New Mexico Economic Development Department can do to help you start your business. Okay. So under the business development option here, I like to go over the NMEDD programs for business because that's what we're all interested in. And they list them all here, but what we're worried about is show me the money. So I go to the $ tab. So the first program I want to talk to you about is LEDA, or the Local Economic Development Act. And what this act lets the state of New Mexico do is put aside a pot of money that they could award to municipalities, townships, counties to incentivize business growth by reimbursing new businesses that fall into their categories for infrastructure development. So say you want to start a manufacturing business in Sunland Park, New Mexico. But there's no water, there's no electricity, there's no natural gas on the property, and you're gonna spend the money to develop that piece of land. The LEDA could help you with that if you're a job creator. So let's see who qualifies as an entity. An industry for the manufacturing, processing, or assembling of agricultural and manufactured products. A commercial enterprise for storing, warehousing, distributing, or selling products of agricultural, mining, or having been manufactured. And an economic-based employer, which is defined as an employer who is deemed eligible for in-plant training assistance by the Economic Development Department's Job Training Incentive Program. And let me tell you, most of the tax credits and assistance from the state, you need to qualify for assistance from the Job Training Incentive Program. And it's not an end-all, this website's not an end-all be-all. So if you have questions of whether or not you might qualify for this program, please feel free to reach out to the contacts for these programs. This one happens to be Juan Torres. Because if they're wanting to fund something in a very rural and underserved area in New Mexico, they might consider a retail establishment. They might consider a service business. If 5 jobs in a place like Questa go a long way for economic development in the state, especially in an underserved area. The next program I want to go over is the Collateral Assistance Program. So many of you online today might have heard about Small Business Administration loan guarantee programs. That means that Uncle Sam guarantees a loan in default. They're kind of like student loans. They have a program like that at the state level. So if you are a new business owner or an established business owner, say you want to borrow $20,000 for something that is not collateral backed. So we're talking about maybe you want to do an advertising campaign, you need money to buy work, or you need working capital to support job growth, um, things like that that don't have any collateral attached to them. And you might need assistance in getting that loan if you don't have the collateral you need. So this program acts a lot like the SBA's loan guarantee program, but at the state level. And there's not that many lenders that participate in this program, but the lenders that do participate in this program, they work very well with it. Now, what other programs should we talk about? I always used to talk about opportunity zones, but they're not as popular as they were in the past. And the link takes you to a gaming website. I'd much rather play games than talk about opportunity zones. Just kidding. So what are opportunity zones? They are zones designated as places with very low economic outcomes, but high potential for economic growth. I'm glad I get to do this live on a webinar so I could see what you guys go through. Um, most of these zones are in places that aren't very developed throughout New Mexico. Let me give you an example. Here in Valencia County, it's mostly the west side of the freeway in Los Lunas and Belen. So if I wanted to start a business in one of these places, and there's really no limitation on the type of business you could start, opportunity zones have what they call opportunity funds. And these funds take money that would normally be used for capital gains, but they're diverting the capital gains into this opportunity fund. And this fund has to fund the startup of businesses in these opportunity zones. And there's many different opportunity funds throughout the United States. They're managed usually through financial management firms, private ones. And they allow somebody who might not normally have the $3 million to develop a piece of land on the west side of Los Lunas to apply for 85% of their funding from the opportunity fund and then contribute the other 15-20% themselves or through other types of financial instruments. I think we only have one active opportunity fund in the state of New Mexico. But and they really only finance the purchase of property and a building and maybe the infrastructure for that property. So let's go back to business development and let's go to the job training incentive program because I mentioned it early and you should know what it is. So the job training incentive program allows the state of New Mexico to reimburse employers to train their employees in different usually high wage jobs in New Mexico. So who qualifies? Usually manufacturing companies that manufacture or produce a product in New Mexico, non-retail service companies that export a substantial percentage of services out of state, and then certain green industries. And there is going to be a recording of this webinar, and it is recording to the cloud now. So now let's go let me go back to the slideshow. Let me open up the slides on my end. Let me move my chat boxes. Okay, now we're on step 2. Step 2 is to choose a business name, and there are legal considerations when choosing a business name, and it's very important to find a name that resonates with your target market, looks good on websites, social media, business cards, and other marketing materials, is easy to spell and pronounce, and isn't trademarked or copywritten by another business. And I love to give this example, and I'm going to make you all hungry right before lunch. There was a restaurant in Albuquerque called Dee's Cheesecake Factory. Let me see the hands. Does anybody remember Dee's Cheesecake Factory on Manal and Carlisle? It used to be on Lomas and oh good. I'm glad other people could remember this place. And if you grew up in Albuquerque, it was one of your places, favorite places for lunch or a sweet treat. The owners of Dee's Cheesecake Factory started this business after World War II and trademarked the name in the state of New Mexico. Fast forward to about 2010, there's a national chain called the Cheesecake Factory that wants to do business in New Mexico, but they could not operate a restaurant with Cheesecake Factory in the name because the savvy business owners at Dee's reserved the business name many years before. In this example, the small business had the upper hand, but you could imagine how a small business operating under a trademark business name could end up being sued, have to change their business name and all that expensive marketing material, and it might actually destroy a new business. There are two types of trademarks, state and federal. The first website on the screen is for the United States Patent and Trademark Office, and the second is for the New Mexico Secretary of State's office. And these are the two agencies responsible for registering trademarks. Since we can't provide legal advice, it's important for you to consult with an attorney before making a decision on a business name. And I'll show you some great resources later in the presentation, including the newest member of our Small Business Development Center team, the Technology Commercialization Accelerator at New Mexico Tech, staffed by Estefanita Rawlings. Step 3 is choosing and registering your legal business structure. The legal structure of your business is its foundation. You must carefully consider how you wish to legally operate your business, and that does have legal and tax connotations with it. The common types of business structures are on the slide. Everything but sole proprietors and partnerships must be registered with the New Mexico Secretary of State's office, and the paperwork is now available solely online after COVID. More information about legal structures can be found in the document called The Basics of Choosing a Business Entity from our website, prepared by an attorney. And you always have the option of consulting with a certified public accountant or an attorney. And now that we're having fun talking about paperwork, let's talk about step 4. Obtain your federal employer identification number. So this is the unique identification number issued to your business by the IRS and is used on all federal filings. If you're a sole proprietor or a partnership, sometimes use your social security number instead of an EIN, but these days, banks, lenders, credit agencies, they want you to obtain an EIN number. So it's a best practice to just get your EIN number, and it's free. This number is just as important as a social security number, and it should be protected just like your social security number. And no matter what business entity you choose, it's a good idea to obtain this number, and it's required to open up a business bank account at most banks and credit unions. Continuing with our paperwork requirements, step 5 is to register with the New Mexico Taxation and Revenue Department to obtain a gross receipts tax ID number at least. You might be wondering what a gross receipts tax ID number. They call it by many names. It used to be called a CRS number, which stood for Combined Reporting System. These days, they call it a BTIN, or a Business Taxpayer Identification Number. And it's the unique identifying number used by the New Mexico Taxation and Revenue Department to record and track your business's collection and payment of taxes, but most businesses on this call today will have to comply with gross receipts taxes. And if gross receipts taxes is a new term for you, you might recognize it as a tax you pay whenever you buy goods or services in New Mexico. It's usually around 8% and shows up at the bottom of your receipt. The online registration form is free to complete, but you may want to seek the advice of a certified public accountant or bookkeeper when completing the application, because you might not be tracking and filing your gross receipts taxes yourself. You must also file your gross receipts tax reports on a monthly, quarterly, or bi-yearly schedule, semi-annual schedule. Therefore, the department offers a great online training, and there's a link to the the training on the slide and in the follow-up resources. It's on their YouTube now. I don't think they do it monthly anymore. Step 6 is to obtain your local business license and other applicable licenses. When doing business in New Mexico, you need a business license in the municipality or county where you have a physical presence. For instance, Tio Filo's restaurant in Los Lunas has a physical presence in Los Lunas, New Mexico, so they get a Village of Los Lunas business license. If they had a food truck and did business in Belen, New Mexico, and Los Lunas, New Mexico, they would have to obtain a temporary or full business license in the city of Belen and in the city of Los Lunas, or the Village of Los Lunas. Some of you might be thinking that you're going to do business online or in another state. This means getting a business license at any place where you will physically conduct commerce. Each municipality or county has a different requirement for obtaining a business license, so check with the municipal or county office or consult an attorney for further advice. For instance, the city of Rio Communities asks you to sketch a floor plan of your business. And if you're a home-based business, you're wondering, what am I going to sketch? Just sketch something. We'll do a cartoon or something. If your business is located in Socorro County and it doesn't have a formal, Socorro County doesn't ask you to obtain a business license. They probably don't have the staff to accommodate that. So you don't have a business license if you're located in Lemitar, New Mexico. Sell your chili as much as you want in Lemitar. An important item you must obtain before you could even apply for a business license is the gross receipts tax ID or the business taxpayer identification number with the New Mexico Department of Taxation and Revenue. And let me look at the comments because we just went over some stuff. Where can you get the list of GRT rates for your specified county? I will revisit that, but I will show you exactly where. And then Eddie asks, does this mean only if we are physically on site and not conducting services via remote software? So this is interesting, Eddie. I had a client who this client came from a different state and is now living in New Mexico. Most of this person's clients are from outside of New Mexico. They actually told her in the city where she lives that she did not have to get a business license unless she did business with somebody physically in New Mexico. So it really depends, and it's best to get those questions answered by the municipality or county offices. And then another question, if you do business statewide, or do you need to obtain your license in the county that you reside in? So county, city, the municipal offices in your area, if you're physically conducting business somewhere, so if you're a home-based business and you do business statewide, you at least need a business license in the municipality where your home is located. If you're going to physically visit or conduct commerce in another place in New Mexico, not online, you will need a business license in that area. And Christopher asks, what are Rio Communities? It is a city in Valencia County. And then Tonya says, I see the no-cost intro to GRT webinar. How do I locate that webinar? Let me just show you, since I have the time. And I'm in my other screen right now, and I will just show you the window that you need to visit. Training. You know what? I could not find their training link on their website, but I'm going to chat over to everyone the link to the New Mexico Taxation and Revenue Department's YouTube channel, and they have the workshop for new businesses right there. So that's where you could find that. Let me put it into the Q&A, and thank you, Tanya, for putting it in the Q&A. And then since we're already on the New Mexico and Taxation Revenues website, I understand you guys, and I'm glad we're doing this live so you could see me fail at finding some of these things sometimes. That websites change constantly, and this information might not be available where I told you it was in the follow-up, but you could always email me. I'm looking for. Sometimes I just use the search bar. So they have a map tool, but then they also have the gross receipts tax rate schedules here. So there's current years, and these gross receipts tax rates change on a 6-month schedule, a semi-annual schedule. So make sure you're in the right time frame that you need. And I'm just going to chat over the link to the general gross receipts tax rate schedule so you all could access it. And if you want to use the map-based tool, which it's kind of hard for, I don't like map-based tools myself. And we'll talk about that when I show you the market research tools that we have available. Let me open up the slideshow on my end, and we will go to step 7, to report new hires to the New Mexico directory. The link to the directory is on the slide, but this brings up human resource considerations. Human resources is a very important part of any business and comes with many legal and accounting considerations. There's a lot of taxes you have to comply with, a lot of reporting you have to do on a quarterly and yearly basis. You can always contact an accountant or attorney for specific information, but I included links to 2 good resources for learning more about employment procedures and laws. I have the link to the Department of Workforce Connections or Workforce Solutions Business Outreach website. And then I have the Department of Labor.gov link. Let me open that up. And this is it geared towards employers as the audience. And then I have the EEOC. So how many of you online, let me look at my hands here. How many of you have heard of the EEOC or the U.S. Equal Employment Opportunity Commission? I'm not liking the amount of hands I have raised right now. If you discriminate against somebody, we have federal laws that prevent from discriminating against people based on nationality, color, creed. There's 6 of them, and I can't name them all. My employment law instructor would probably be very sad right now. But if you discriminated against somebody based on one of those aspects, they could report you to the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, and they will investigate. And Justin puts religion and sexual orientation. Justin, that's a good point. Religion is one. Sexual orientation is not a federal one. It's a New Mexico state law that you have to comply with sexual orientation. So keep that in mind. The federal and the state both have different types of employment laws. But I recommend you read the requirements for small businesses before you get a right to sue letter from the Equal Opportunity Employment Commission. And Linda says, if I'm the only employee of the business, do I need to report myself to the new hires? You don't, Linda, because you're considered the business owner. And depending on what type of business structure you have, I shouldn't say no, but depending on what type of business structure you have, if you're an LLC or a sole proprietor, you don't have to report yourself as an employee. Let me open up my slides. And then we will go over step 8. Keeping with the HR trend, step 8 is if you have employees, you may need to complete Form ES 802. And this is a required form from the New Mexico Department of Workforce Solutions. The Department of Workforce Solutions has many services, tax credits, and learning opportunities for small business owners. So I included their business outreach website. And some of the common services that the Department of Workforce Solutions offers are job postings. That's the biggest one and the best one. Pre-employment screenings like typing tests. And sometimes they offer space for you. So say you're maybe a totally remote type of business that needs space to conduct interviews. They could probably accommodate you at your local Workforce Solutions or Workforce Connections. Step 9 is if you have employees, seek the assistance of an accountant. You could see, let's look at all the taxes. SUDA, FUDA, FIT, SIT. It doesn't even make sense. We're all talking gibberish now. You could see all the tax acronyms on the slide, and if you aren't willing or able to deal with them, please seek the assistance of a bookkeeper or an accountant, because you could get into real bad tax trouble real quick if you don't comply. The IRS website also has a wealth of information about your federal tax obligations. And my favorite is their small business, self-employed and small business individual, small business and self-employed individual tax center. And there's a link right on the screen. Let me get rid of some of these before I destabilize my Zoom meeting here. And if you're worried about what your federal tax obligations are, what are my self-employed tax obligations? They have a huge document on it. And what you should be doing now, even Anwar and I were talking about independent contractors. You could pay your estimated federal tax obligation on a quarterly basis. And you should be paying it on a quarterly basis. You should be paying it, period. So let's go through. Let me see if there are any questions. No questions. Perfect. Step 10 is to seek the assistance of an attorney. And we talked about the important legal landmines in starting and operating your businesses. Attorneys are licensed to answer those questions. For patents and trademarks, there are 2 resources that I recommend. The NMSU Patent and Trademark Library and the Technology Commercialization Accelerator, which I have contact info for at the end of our slides. The State Bar of New Mexico has some great resources. They have a search. You could do a search for an attorney on their website. And the way I like to do it is I like to do it by practice area. So most likely you would be looking for somebody who, if you're starting up a business, who practices in business and corporations. If you're interested in intellectual property, patent, trademark, they have that search term. And then I go by practice counties. Because personally, I like somebody with an office near me or in the town where I'm located. Because if I'm wanting to yell at somebody, I need to drive down to their office to yell at them. And I'm just not one of those people who could work remotely with an attorney. I tried it once. It was a smooth process, but I want an area where I don't get charged for every 15 minutes that I'm yelling at them on the phone. So Valencia County is where I'm at. And then it gives you a list and it tells you where they're located. Most of the towns in New Mexico, like Questa, Los Lunas, we're not going to have a big presence of attorneys in these areas. They're probably going to be from another place, but they practice in our area. So there's one here in Valencia County. If we click on them, it tells you what type of law they practice, gives you their contact information. This worked out great for me when I was looking for a real estate attorney. So take advantage of that. Another great program that they offer through the State Bar of New Mexico is the Modest Means Helpline. So a lot of us on the call today would have heard of legal aid, but that's for criminal matters. The Modest Means Helpline helps you with civil matters and starting the legal aspects of starting up a business or operating a business fall under usually civil. Hopefully, for your sakes, everybody on the call, it falls under the civil court, not the criminal court. And if you fall into their income limitation, which I think most people on the call will, I think it's for 500% of the federal poverty guideline. 67,950 for an individual, a household of 138,000. I think most people, for a household of 4, 138,000. I think most of us would fall into those guidelines. And then Suman asks, what if my business doesn't make enough profit to pay for an accountant or an attorney? Reach out to the Modest Means Helpline. If you fall into those income, the income brackets that they help people with, or try consult with the SBDC and have them point you to the right resources you need to make informed legal decisions. But it might be a must. You don't absolutely need one, but it's great for them to answer those questions, especially if you're in the types of businesses that have sensitive topics. Step 11, review the guidelines for compliance with the Americans with Disability Act. I could not recommend this more because any of the people on this call who want to have a storefront and they don't comply with the ADA are open for a lawsuit. There's some people who make their living just suing based on ADA compliance or the lack thereof. It's a major legal landmine, and you should carefully consider it. Take a look at that free publication that's geared towards small business owners. There's all their guides there. Let's go back to our slideshow. We're almost there, you guys. Step 12 is to establish a business bank account. It's a best practice to keep your personal and business finances separate. It's not, in my opinion, it's not I come from an accounting bookkeeping background. It's a must. And this makes your bookkeeping process easier and will help you if your business ever experiences an audit. The federal government could audit you. The state government can audit you. There's a whole lot of different government agencies could audit. You could have a gross receipts tax audit, and that's very common. The Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation has a great learning module for small business owners called FDIC Money Smart for Small Business. I would love to have us do these through the SBDC, but I cannot do all of the modules myself. Remember that. But if you want to take a look at the modules, they're all available online. I recommend banking services. Banking services for businesses are much different than banking services for individuals. They have different fee structures. They have different requirements. Make sure you're doing business with a bank or credit union or institution that supports you and your needs. Step 13, our final step, have adequate business insurance coverage. This slide shows the common types of insurance coverage, and I recommend you research your options with an independent insurance broker. Oftentimes, independent insurance brokers sell insurances from many different companies and tend to be less biased. You can learn more about business insurance by visiting this link at the bottom of the screen. It's for the Hitchcocks. Hitchcocks, in full disclosure, they are the largest business insurer in the nation, but they offer our SBDC clients a special page to educate them about insurance for small businesses. And they have some great videos. What is small business insurance? What is general liability insurance? And what is professional liability insurance? And it's best to educate yourself about the different types of insurance so you don't get oversold or undersold. Now we have cybersecurity insurance. If you're interested in that, attend tomorrow's webinar with Alethea. Let me go back to our slides. And now I'm going to talk about the research tools. Now that we covered all 13 steps to starting a business, I want to share with you some research tools that we use to gain insights into industry analysis, market research, demographics, and traffic counts. These data tools are very, very important to the success of your business because they help you fill in your business plan and they help you make informed decisions. Your business is a big investment, and it would be silly if you did not treat it like you wouldn't just throw darts at a dartboard to invest in the stock market. You don't want to do the same for your business. The first link is it's a great learning module from the Small Business Administration. We're going to open it, see if my link's still working. A great article about how to write a business plan from the Small Business Administration. Take a look at that. They also have a great learning center, and they have a video module on business planning. I highly recommend taking it, and I took it for my professional development plan. The second link is for vplans.com. It's by Palo Alto Software. And if you remember in the old days, we used to have to buy these sample business plans on a CD-ROM, and it costs like $300. Now they offer all their business plans, sample business plans, for free online. Could the world have become any better? And this gives you a starting point. It gives you an idea of what you should be putting in the plan. And sometimes starting off is the hardest thing that we could do. So great resource for you. The third link is for Census Business Builder, and I'm going to demonstrate this for you. And it's a no-cost database that allows you to find demographic information about your customers, census stats about businesses in your industry, and estimates of yearly household expenditures in most areas. And the household expenditures are my favorite part of that report. And the last link is for the Middle Rio Grande Council of Governments Interactive Traffic Counts Map. I will demonstrate that for you, but if you're not in the Albuquerque metro area, your Council of Governments is going to be in charge of collecting that data. They might not have an interactive map. They might just issue a report every 4 years. But the report is great. Take advantage of that free data. And then I want to show you the paid data tools we use that the SBDC, your taxpayer money, pays for. We have access to. So if you want to use them, you have to set up an appointment with us at the SBDC. That's how I lure you into my office. So now let's look at the Census Business Builder. And I don't like to open this in. I think this is Internet Explorer, whatever we're using these days. Let me open it up in Chrome. It works better in Chrome. So here's what it looks like. And it's a map-based tool. Do you remember I told you I do not like map-based tools? They're hard. I just don't think that way. So we start off by searching for a location. Does anybody want to put in the chat a location for me, and we'll use that location? Hopefully it has more than one zip code. Taos. Aspen wins. So we have some options here. We have the Taos, New Mexico micro area, the Taos County, or the town of Taos. So, and the micro area, it would also say metro area if it was near a city. So let's look at the town of Taos. And, you know, if I was better with this map tool, I tend to click around too fast. I mess things up. I learn better from reading, so I just go straight to create the report. And you could export this report as a PDF. Oh, I'm printing it apparently. I do not want to print that report. I would prefer to export it, but we'll look at the facts based on the website. So this talks about supply chain. What types of industries are in Taos? Those of you from the Questa Taos area, most of the jobs you see are probably in the accommodation and service areas, retail jobs, fast food jobs. Healthcare is another big one. Real estate, finance and insurance, professional arts and entertainment has a big house. We would have a bigger one than most, I think. And then transportation. Here's the demographics about that area. Let's see. The median age in Taos is 49. That's pretty high compared to most of New Mexico. In New Mexico slang, we would call that a viejo storio. And let's see, socioeconomic characteristics are people. So this is important. If you want to have a retail or a food establishment in one of these areas, take a look at median household income. And I like to recommend going into places that are at or above the median household income, the national household income. And given the median age, I would imagine that people are a lot of people who live in that area are on fixed incomes. This housing characteristics is a great tool for my tradespeople on the call, my plumbers, contractors, electricians, because you want to go into a place that has really old houses. So what's the average, when were these houses built? Most of the average year these structures were built were 1981. I was born in the 80s, so I hate to say that 1981 is old, but it is. And then you want to see what the average housing value is. This is a place with expensive old houses. It would be a great place to at least offer your services. And another great tool or another thing you could do when you're looking at this is, say you want to start a property rental business. This is big with many of my clients. Is it cheaper to buy a house or is it cheaper to rent a house? So average rent, 847. I would say it's cheaper to rent in Taos than it is to buy. So keep that in mind. This isn't more information about employer data, and Taos is so small, they just don't have the data. Building permits. But my favorite part of this is consumer expenditure. So let's see my favorite and the most ridiculous consumer expenditure. So this is per household per year that they have on the census website is consumer expenditure per household on dating services. The average household expenditure on dating services in Taos per year is 76 cents. I just find that the most ridiculous one. The most useful one for most people are probably food, dining out, food away from the home, how much people are spending on different types of retail establishments. So this could help you think about, can this area support a retail business that sells women's shoes? Let's see. The average household expenditure per year is almost $400. In Taos, I think, I don't know if there's a shoe store in Taos. Anwar, you could chime in with that. Or anybody from Taos, you could chime in. Do you have a shoe store? Do you in Taos? It might be a good idea.
Hey, Chris, we used to have one called Stepping Out. I don't know if it's still.
Yeah. And this kid, Studio 58 or something.
Well, they do spend a lot of money on shoes. Here in Los Lunas, New Mexico, or in Valencia County, New Mexico. We don't have a shoe store in Valencia County, but we have one in Los Lunas. People in Valencia County are spending quite a bit per household per year on shoes. And where are those shoes coming from? Probably not from the area. So that's Census Business Builder. I love talking about these data tools. I love demonstrating them for you. The next one I want to demonstrate is IBIS World. It is my favorite data tool. So put in the chat for me an industry you want me to research. The first person wins. Try to be broad. A veterinarian. Drone is too precise. Insurance is a nice broad one, but we're going to do veterinarian. They have veterinarian services. They have emergency veterinarian services. They have veterinarian laboratory testing. Probably veterinarian services are what you're looking for. Dog grooming. I don't think there is one on dog grooming. I think it's other pet services. They group you into other services. And I don't know if I'm sharing my screen. It says I'm sharing my screen. Can everybody see my screen? Raise your hand. I see yes. I see hands raised. So we're going to look up this report on veterinary services in the United States. We're not going to, the closest we're going to get to New Mexico specific information is through the Census Business Builder. We're not big enough. We don't have a big enough population in most places in New Mexico to get that New Mexico specific information. I'm sorry. That's just the way it is. But we could get national insights, which helps us make informed decisions. So let's see what's included in this report. These reports are sorted by NAICS codes. Raise your hand for me if you're familiar with what NAICS codes are. I know Anwar is. Glenn better be on the phone right now. So that's called the North American Industry Classification System. And this is how a lot of government contracting services and products are procured. And it groups industries into different codes. Right now, I'm on the IBIS World website, Brittany. Gives you a lot of narrative. These reports, see this particular report's 82 pages long. So revenue in this industry between 2024 and 2029 is expected to rise 2.1%. These reports are put together by economists and business analysts. I didn't go to school for those particular things. I don't want to know how they do it, but they do a great job on these reports. The number of employees in this industry between 2024 and 2029 is expected to increase 1.8% across the US. The number of businesses is expected to increase. Profit in that industry was up between 2019 and 2024. Profit margin was down, probably because of the cost of employment. But this industry has a good profit margin. About 13 cents out of every dollar is profit. Most service businesses have a high profit margin. Most retail businesses have a very low profit margin. So keep that in mind. And wages are predicted to go up between 2024 and 2029. Key takeaways, key products and services. So non-surgical treatment are the biggest want in this category, followed by routine examinations. And it go pet grooming services. There we go. It's grouped to veterinarian services. A very small percentage of the income generated in this industry. Major players, these are the big businesses that you're competing against. Key external drivers. I love the way they name it, key external drivers. I would name it, what happens in the economy that makes this business grow? So if you want to be a vet, you need to go into a place that has a positive increase in the number of pets, has increase in the per capita disposable income, per capita meat consumption. I'm guessing veterinarian services apply to farm animals, and that's a big part of what veterinarians do. And households earning more than $100,000. All these things are predicted to have a positive increase, meaning that this industry is probably seeing an increase in profits. This tells you what the thing I look for in this part is the industry life cycle. This slide happens to be in the growth life cycle. So this is the best, when it's in the growth life cycle, it's the best time to enter this industry. You're not, you're competing with relatively new firms. Or there's a big demand and new firms are needed. Gives you a SWOT analysis, which is strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And my favorite part of this report, because I love to learn about marketing, because I don't consider myself a marketing person, but I love marketing research. I missed a portion of this. So here's the major markets: companion animal practices, mixed animal practices, equine, food animal practices, species unspecified, and other. So probably companion animal, dogs, cats, birds are probably the largest types of businesses that are wanted. I was looking for more of a the breakdown by who would be interested in these services, but it doesn't go into income or any of those other characteristics. It goes into what type of animals people have. So I would say in a place like Questa, probably equine food animal would probably be a big need in those areas. So that is IBIS World in a nutshell. Let's go over the next data tool I love to use. Reference USA. And I am going to give us all a quick break because I need to take a quick break. So I'm going to put myself on mute. I'll be back in 3 minutes. Okay, there is no water where I'm at today, so they were giving me an update on the water status. Thank you. Let's get back to, let me show you the last database I love to use that we have access to. Brittany is saying she cannot get the full report. That is because the SBDC has their own subscription, Brittany. And if you wanted a subscription, it'd probably be very expensive. So take advantage, make a meeting with your local SBDC and get access to these databases with an in-person client meeting. So the next database is Data Excel, data, however you want to call it. And it's like a phone book on steroids. So if you're doing a business plan, you probably need to know what types of businesses you're competing against. And we use the industry of veterinarian services. So let's look up all the veterinarians. In let me see what county somebody gave me in the past, and we'll use that one. Moriarty. I got Moriarty, and that is Torrance County. There were no records found for veterinarians in Torrance County. Let's do Bernalillo County because we'll definitely find one. There are 47 businesses that this database recognizes. There might be more, there might be less. Take it with a grain of salt, but it's a good guide. And then if we choose all of these and we download all the details, we could have a great start for our business plan. Because I'm going to open this up for you. I just cannot see. Don't convert right now. So let's see. Maybe we want to see, maybe we're comparing ourselves with the Albuquerque Cat Clinic. We only want to deal with cats. We could see where they're located. We could see what NAICS codes they operate in. This one happens to operate as an animal hospital. And we could see what their location sales volume is. So if we were comparing ourselves with this business, and we're going to do financial projections for our business loan, we could probably expect to make somewhere around $400,000 a year. Remember to take this with a grain of salt, but it's a great estimator. And it goes into a lot of other details. I don't want to save this file right now. Another great thing we could do is map this. Maybe we want to start a veterinarian clinic in Bernalillo County, New Mexico. We could see where they're located. There aren't any veterinarians in Westgate, I guess. That's a nice little corridor too. That's 87120, I believe, or 121. So we could just see where most of them are, where there might be a need for one. But the one you would probably be interested in is, say you wanted to do a marketing campaign. We looked up your IBIS World report and we found out who your market was. We could go into the consumer and lifestyle database. Say you're starting a new retail establishment and you want to send out a coupon through some place like Vistaprint to everybody in a certain characteristic in a radius of where you're going to be located. We're going to use zip code for this, and we're going to do one per household. We're going to do 87120, just because I had that zip code on my mind. And the free ones, the ones we're able to do with this subscription, are estimated home income or estimated home value. If you were a tradesperson on the call, estimated home value is what you would use. If you're retail or a service, probably estimated home income. And most retail establishments want to attract those with household incomes of 100,000 or more. That's my massage parlors, my spas, most of my retail establishments. We could see how many people fit that description in this zip code, and remember, it's one person per household. There are 9,495 records. And if we view the result, we can't email these people, but we could send them a letter in the mail. We could send them a coupon in the mail. If you want to email these people, you have to purchase this list from Data Excel. And they tell me that they run $1,000 for 5,000 email addresses. And now you know why we get spam phone calls, spam emails, and spam mail to our homes. Now you know how it works. And I'm going to give you the tool to do it yourself for your business, because it works. But you could see actual people in that zip code, in that income bracket. Remember, don't call them, don't email them, but you have a full right to send them a letter. We could even map it if we did a bigger search. This is just going to have one area because we did one zip code. If we were looking for people with household incomes in this metro area, let's do the Albuquerque metro area. Where do the rich people live in Albuquerque, New Mexico? Let's see. The website you're seeing now is Data Excel. And the one we saw before was IBIS World. So this tells me that there are households with incomes of 100,000. This tells me how many, as an estimate of how many households meet that $100,000 plus income, yearly income. 87002. We don't have that many. 8703, that's Los Lunas. Well, we have quite a bit. 5,000, 87124. Where's that? That's Rio Rancho, sounds like to me. Yeah. Ooh, 87144. Where's that? Oh, that's the ritzy part of Rio Rancho, I guess. Enchanted Hills and Mariposa. Mariposa, the butterfly. But you could start to make educated decisions where well, if you're a retail business, looks like you want to be in the 87144 zip code to me. See if there's another really big one. 87114. My late daddy's zip code. If you're a retail business, if you could afford the property in that area, if there's commercial property in that area, great place to start a retail type establishment. I think they're underserved too. Okay, I talked enough about our data tools. Let's go back to our slideshow so we could finish off and answer questions, because I'm sure there's a lot. Okay. Now that we talked about how we could help you, this is how you could help the SBDC. As part of offering our services, we need your help to ensure our services are around for many more years to come. So we ask that you participate in our surveys, report economic impacts because of our assistance to your advisor, center director, and write letters of support to your local legislators talking about your experience with the SBDC. All information is kept confidential and is only reported in aggregate to our funders. And speaking of surveys, Anwar, this would be a good time to hand out the physical surveys, and I am going to launch the poll for my survey. And I'll let you all, we want a 90, Anwar and I are graded on a 90% response rate, and there are 40 people on the call right now. So I better see most of those 40 surveys submitted. And they're all confidential. I can't see who they come from. Don't worry, give me your honest opinion. I do appreciate it. This slide provides contact information for SBDC programs Apex Accelerator, the International Business Accelerator, and the New Mexico Technology Commercialization Accelerator. The Apex Accelerator is a government-funded program providing assistance to small businesses who want to sell their goods or services to the government, educational institutions, or tribal entities. The International Business Accelerator is a one-stop shop of resources for New Mexican businesses and individuals wishing to introduce their product or service into the global market. And the New Mexico Technology Commercialization Accelerator offers no-cost confidential counseling regarding intellectual property. This slide continues the list of small business resource partners, SCORE, or the Service Corps of Retired Executives, West, or the Women's Business Center Program, and VBOC, or the Veterans Business Outreach Center. Here's the contact information for your small business support team. We are funded by the Small Business Administration, and many people ask about SBA loans. So I would direct you to the SBA resource guide on their website. The SBA doesn't directly lend, but they offer loan guarantee programs. The only time the SBA directly lends is disaster loans, and that's when you have a federally declared disaster. That's why I have high hopes that everybody affected by the flooding and Roswell will reach out to their federal representatives and Congress people and make sure that that area is designated as a disaster area, and they will qualify for very low interest small business administration loans. I have a question. Does the SBA offer grants? They very, very rarely do. The only time I've ever seen the Small Business Administration offer grants was during COVID, when they had the restaurant, they had a grant for restaurants, they had a grant for businesses in economically disadvantaged areas, and they had the Paycheck Protection Program. But no, they typically do not offer grants. Grants are few and far between for businesses, and they're often scams. So keep that in mind. And this concludes our slideshow. I want to thank everybody. And now I'm going to do questions and answers. Hopefully I have the answers to those questions. And keep doing the survey. I'll leave it open until we reach time. So Ahmed asks, if there are no competitors in this area, could this be a sign that there is no market or low profitability? Ahmed, let me tell you, data is what it is. I hate that phrase, but that is exactly what data is. And in order for us to analyze it, we need to be able to find the data we need to answer those questions. If there are no competitors in that area, it could be that the people in that area are being served by a different area, a business in a different area. I wonder why there's no shoe store in Tomé, New Mexico. In Tomé, New Mexico, there's very little commercial property. Even though people are spending a lot of money on shoes, these people could be buying their shoes in Albuquerque because it's fairly close to Tomé, New Mexico. They could be buying these shoes online. We would have to, we can't make that assumption just off of the fact there are no competitors. We would have to find more information before we could answer it. But we could, we could pose the question and look at the data to see if that's the case. But thank you for that question. Suman asks, how can I use the data tools for an e-commerce market? That's a great question. I love it. So say you sell art from Questa, New Mexico. Most of your customers are probably not located in Questa, New Mexico. How are you going to find where people spend a lot of money on art? Go to the Census Business Builder and look up different zip codes, different areas to see if they have that household expenditure on art. Look up an IBIS World report to see who the main market for purchasing art is. I happen to know that because I look it up often. It's households earning $100,000 or more. where should I be spending my market dollars to reach these households earning $100,000 or more? We could find that on Data Excel. We could find that on Census Business Builder. And you might want to do, if you're going to do maybe a targeted Instagram or Facebook ad, you could find the zip codes that you really want to target where they have really high expenditures, find the places, or you could use it to say, you know, I only want to target people in this household income. That's how we use the data tools for e-commerce. Perfect. I have a 58% response rate now. I'm going to leave that the survey open for until we reach time. I think I will. How can we schedule with appointments with SBDC consultants? Well, we have a great website. It's nmsbdc.org, and I will share it with you. And in this, we have locations. You find the location nearest you. And I tell you, I would give you the advice to call the office to schedule an appointment. Don't try to do it by email. If you try to schedule an appointment with me by email, probably by the time you respond to me, I'm going to have that appointment filled. Just give us a call. Christopher asks, will I give you the slide on how to use the databases? Best thing to do, make an appointment with an SBDC advisor. If the advisor doesn't know how to use the data tools, have them bring me in, and I'd be happy to co-counsel with them and show you how to, and we could do a session customized for your business and pull the data you need. That's the best. That's how I get you guys into my office. We have these great tools. You just have to make an appointment, and we could do a Zoom meeting with you if you want. 74% response rate. We're getting better on that survey. Where can we refine the recorded presentation or the links from the slides? I will again chat out the website of the follow-up email that I will send out to everybody. And then the recording, I will send an email out to you when I have the recording posted on YouTube. But if you are just dying to see me present this again, and you could tell what I look at on YouTube watches usually. Let's see what if I have a recent. That's 2 years ago. That's 2 years ago. That's 3 years ago. What was I wearing that? Hopefully I'm not wearing the same shirt as I was wearing 3 years ago. They're going to be on our YouTube channel. Let me just type that. I'll put that in the chat for everybody now. And take a look at the other great webinars we have on there. How can we register for tomorrow's presentation with Apex? Hopefully it hasn't closed. I forgot when I told Steffi she had to close it. Open, 30 spots remaining. I'll put the direct link in the chat. And I will type it in the Q&A. I'm going to open my participants now. And if somebody wants to speak a question, I know not everybody's a good typist, or you're on the phone and can't type the message out. Raise your hand for me and I'll allow you to speak. And Anwar, do you have any questions from Questa?
Hi, Chris. We don't have any questions right now. Appreciate it. We've got a potential veterinary business here, and we're primarily going to be. She had questions about pricing and how to use some of this data for arriving at a pricing model, and so I'm probably going to have fun doing that with her. And then, yeah, I've got another question that has more to do with, is an LLC the best structure versus sole prop? And so I'm probably going to be navigating some of those questions. Thank you.
Perfect. And I want to thank you, Anwar, for hosting our live session at the Questa Public Library. I want to thank the public library for hosting us there. Again, if you want to meet with us, visit our website. Just reach out. Nobody wants to make a phone call anymore. Just make a phone call. Anwar, do you agree with that? Do you like a phone call better than an email?
Absolutely. Yes, I'm happy to get a phone call. I'll take the other side though. My inbox is my to-do list. So if somebody sends me an email, they're more likely to get a response than a phone call.
And that's why we post it all on our website. So take a look at our website. Thank you for all of those of you who took the survey. I do appreciate that. I'm going to end the survey now because we're a minute after. I don't see any more questions in the chat or the Q&A. So I want to respect your time. I'm going to end for now. One last thank you and one big goodbye. Oh, I see Heather. Heather, go ahead and speak. But everybody else who wants to leave, we're at time. Go right ahead.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to, but thank you for calling on me and thank you for doing this for us. Appreciate you.
Oh, thank you for attending. I'm glad. I hope I get a lot of appointments because of this webinar, and I hope to offer it for Anwar more often.
Thank you, Chris. It's been awesome. Really appreciate you doing this for us.
Well, thank you, Anwar. It's always good to work with you, and I shall see you soon.
See you soon. Have a great day.